Because even though you may think that training to failure is all great and amazing and the best thing since sliced bread, maybe it's not all it's cut out to be. If there was a court of law in bodybuilding, then training to failure would be the current defendant. The concept of training to failure has been around since the dawn of bodybuilding, with the elites and the beginners adapting this method along their very painful yet rewarding lifting journey. However, it has come under heavy scrutiny by influential lifting figures, science, and maybe even your average gym bro. And maybe they're right. Perhaps training to failure isn't all it's cut out to be. Perhaps you've been wrong this whole time. But if I've taught you anything, it's not believe stuff without independent or analytical thought. Is what you're doing in the gym truly wrong? Or should you just continue with what you're doing? You're here to get healthy. We all are. Alright, so if I'm going to give you an entire sermon on whether training to failure is overrated or not, I need to give you an idea of what failure is, because there's a bit of an arbitrary definition. True muscular failure is when an individual cannot perform a concentric motion with a specified weight without severely breaking form. You cannot get the weight up if the target muscle is doing the majority of the work. Obviously, this is different from total muscular failure, which is when your muscle just shuts down. That's not good. We're going to be focusing on the concept of generalized gym definition muscular failure. Now, the notion I mentioned that going to failure has a bit of an arbitrary definition is because of certain techniques that let you go past failure, which sounds contradictory in and of itself. How can you take it past failure? Well, using our definition, past failure would imply that either the weight has been lightened up or a fully concentric motion has not been achieved. Techniques such as drop sets, smile reps, pause reps, negative reps, rest pause should all come to mind. Now, for the purpose of this video, like I said, we're going to be using general muscular failure and talking about that. But we will be talking about going past failure a little later. Now, this is where our video gets a little spicy, because even though you may think that training to failure is all great and amazing and the best thing since sliced bread, maybe it's not all it's cut out to be. The evidence could prove you wrong. In a meta-analysis done in failure versus non-failure training, there was, quote, a trivial difference in the results reported between subjects who trained to failure versus did not train to failure. Taking into account the differences between different studies in defining muscular failure and analyzing separate subgroups, there really was essentially zero difference in failure versus non-failure training. However, this leaves us more lost than ever. Now, we have to answer what may be the most crucial question I've ever asked you on this channel. How many reps within failure does it actually take to force muscular growth? We know training to failure will stimulate growth because the muscle building response is an adaptive response. If the muscle senses that its current strength and force production capabilities are indeed being challenged, it will, as a result, increase the size of those motor units and grow the muscle as an adaptive response to stress. It does not want its reserved resources to be used. Now, we must delve into what actually forces growth, because we've established there's not a significant difference between failure and non-failure training. Going back to the research and the evidence, it says and states that stopping 3 to 5 reps shy of muscular failure is sufficient for optimal gains. This is the point where your muscles will be challenged, but a dent in recovery won't be made too significant. But before you get all excited, telling yourself that you can lighten up your workout, there is a major warning I must give you. So if we lived in a perfect world, training to failure may actually be overrated. But we don't. You can't just show up to the gym and say, on every set, I'm going to stop 3 reps shy of muscular failure. Why? Because you don't know what true failure is. Let's say that you estimate your failure in a particular set to be around 10 reps, so you do 8. But what if your actual failure was at 12 reps? So now the set was a relatively meaningless waste of energy because you did not stimulate any real growth. Those who point out a 3 to 5 rep range shy of muscular failure have lived it so much and experienced failure so much that they know exactly what muscular failure feels like. They don't put numbers on it. They just know the feeling of it. I'm not disproving the science, nor am I looking to prove anyone wrong. 3 to 5 reps is probably the best way to go. But taking into consideration subjective reality, not everyone knows what true failure is, and most people underestimate what failure really feels like on a set-to-set basis. As Dr. Mike Israetel often references, if you put a gun to someone's head, can they squeeze out another rep? Or two? For most people, this answer is probably yes, because they have never reached true muscular failure. As mentioned before, the only caveat to training to failure is your recovery time. But you can take smart energy conservation approaches to minimize the recovery time and keep your body healthy and safe. Going back to the idea of going past failure, don't prioritize these techniques. If you want to do them, excellent. In fact, I do some of them to squeeze that real last juice out of the muscle to ensure I've stimulated it to the maximum. However, I only do it on my last set. Don't spend each set doing a drop set because that reduces your working strength for your working weight, the weight that you actually want to improve on, the weight that will actually stimulate your strength production, the weight that actually challenges your neuromuscular system. Don't tire yourself out for that by going to past failure on the first set. Additionally, don't spam sets. Do not spam sets. If you're actually stimulating the muscle, what is the need of doing more than 2, 3, maybe 4 sets per exercise? The muscle's been stimulated. Don't do more than what needs to be done. Do the precise amount. Don't take the science for granted though. 3 to 5 reps shy is optimal. But to be safe, estimate conservatively and attack aggressively. There's nothing wrong with going to failure as long as you manage it well. Don't be stupid, but be aggressive. Now I want to give a couple shout outs before signing off. I'm linking all of my socials down in the description as I usually do. I post on every single one of them whenever a new short drops, some fitness advice, info, tweets, etc. I'm always active on them and you can keep up with the content in real time. A huge shout out, I'm launching a store soon and my YouTube subs will be the first to know about it and they'll get exclusive discounts on the store. It's going to be an all-in-one fitness store. I'm super excited to share this with you guys. And with that being said, this is Simple Fitness Gains signing off, reminding you to stay cognizant of the content you consume. I'll see you in the next video.